horses were hurt, one of them seriously. The police are now taking legal advice on whether to sue Millwall Football Club for compensation.
This is absolutely unacceptable. We have a situation in which for an hour and 10 minutes the football fans of Millwall decided to attack the police. The Birmingham fans were all locked inside the ground and they were not involved.
The trouble lasted more than an hour. Police say cars were burned and local residents terrorised. They believe all involved were Millwall fans. The club itself said it was saddened by these events and anyone caught misbehaving would be banned for life. Margaret Gilmore, BBC News.
The missing schoolgirl.
Helen Callahan reports.
For more than an hour, mounted police pushed back hundreds of Millwall fans who'd left the ground early. Time after time, they were pelted with missiles. 47 officers were injured, 6 went to hospital. Many said it was among the worst violence they'd ever experienced, and the police are now taking legal advice on whether to sue Millwall Football Club for compensation.
This is absolutely unacceptable.
Clearing up the mess, the fans even attacked Millwall supporters' cars.
They was all coming down, throwing bricks everywhere. They were just flying. There was bottles with, they'd made up these bomb things. There was flares, there was fireworks, everything. The cars were all getting smashed to pieces by bricks. They were smashing them in the road to break them up, so they was easier for them to throw.
The police believe all involved were Millwall fans. The club says anyone who was involved in the attacks will be banned from Millwall games for life. If legal action does go ahead, it'll be the first time any police force has sued a football club. The police say the compensation wouldn't be just for them, it'd also go towards rebuilding the local community. Helen Callahan, BBC News.
Some of the devastation that last night's trouble caused. This car was set alight by flares and fireworks. It was so severe that it actually melted the traffic lights, which has been causing huge amounts of traffic chaos in the area all of today. Well, it's the 5th time this season there's been trouble here, and obviously it's raised great concerns in the local community. With me is Councillor Graham Neal. You actually won your seat last night in the local elections, and you were canvassing in the area when it happened.
I was canvassing here, it was about 8:45 last night, knocking on doors, asking people to get out and vote. I was actually talking to people because there was a match going on as I was canvassing. A lot of local people are football fans, a lot of people are Millwall fans. And they're just really disappointed that, again, a small minority of people who aren't here for the football, who aren't here to enjoy the sport, have caused trouble, caused these problems.
Do you think Millwall as a club should be doing more to prevent this kind of thing?
Millwall actually working very closely with the local councils. One of my predecessors, Beverly Bassam, has been working to make it easier for away supporters to come straight from the train station down to the Den, so that the police don't have a problem of crowds coming through the estate. So Millwall actually working very hard with us to try and make sure that this sort of thing doesn't happen. It's just a real shame that this has happened.
Councillor Neal, thank you very much. And the club have said this afternoon they do feel morally responsible, but they feel that football hooliganism is a problem of societies, and really that it's not up to them to actually try and solve this problem.
Lucy, thanks very much indeed. There does need to be some sort of action which people will understand. So I think pursuing action in this way does make a lot of sense. And I'd personally be wanting to hear the Millwall directors and management condemning the actions of some of their fans and agreeing to work with the police to try and combat this sort of behaviour.
We have heard from them today. They say it would be unfair to target them as a club. They've done a lot to improve their image, and this is society's problem.
Well, they may have done a lot to improve their image, and I'm sure that this is an improvement on what's happened before. But let's be quite clear, this was appalling. It was completely over the top. There were some very serious injuries sustained by police officers and indeed by the horses. I think that they should be being a little bit more robust. This is not society's fault. This is the fault of the individuals concerned, and perhaps they ought to be taught some lessons in terms of the football club that they allegedly support.
But in terms of how we solve this, Tony Banks was on our programme only about half an hour ago. He said we have some of the toughest laws on football hooligans. The answer is to identify the people, prosecute them in the court. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely, and then when they're prosecuted, there should be a consequence in terms of the team in which they support, and they should be banned from supporting that team and attending the matches.
It would be, though, an interesting departure, wouldn't it, to sue a company or a club for the costs of the operations. We saw, for example, on Wednesday, those May Day operations. The cost of that to the police must have been huge. 6,000 police officers. You could have put that...
Football club after what it says is the worst street violence London has seen for more than a decade. Nearly 1,000 fans turned on the police after last night's First Division playoff semi-final in South London. 47 officers were injured from a sustained assault as paving slabs, bricks and bottles were hurled through the air. And 26 of the 34 horses on duty were hurt. On the eve of the FA Cup final, the police have demanded the Football Authorities act to end the violence. Here's Margaret Gilmore.
This is the legacy of the violence. Today, the clearing up, the costing and the soul-searching. Dozens of residents were caught up in the thick of things. One woman dragged from her car.
As I went to get out of my car, that was it. My car was just bricked and things just flying from all sorts of angles, and I came back close.
For 2 hours last night, residents trapped in their homes close to the Millwall ground were terrorised. Between 600 and 900 frustrated fans fought raging battles with police.
Come on! Shoot, you! They're ahead of the horses!
The rioters had secretly stockpiled missiles and flares. They were deeply disappointed their team had lost the match and thus the last chance of promotion. Their target was the Birmingham fans, but they were kept apart and turned instead on the police.
This is absolutely unacceptable.
First time there's been trouble. Millwall has a history. In fact, this is the 5th time this season there's been trouble. Last night's albeit the worst. It's symptomatic of a wider problem in football. The BBC has been secretly filming hardcore Millwall fans for months. This happened after the match against Wolves recently. Then, as last night, police believe the trouble was planned in advance. One reformed hooligan supports official statistics which show orchestrated violence is increasing.
Now it seems to be getting back up to big firms again. Bigger numbers coming out, more people getting involved.
This happened after Millwall played Nottingham Forest last October. Tonight the club said it regretted the violence, adding it was a problem for our whole society, though the chairman wouldn't be drawn further. This evening, police showed some of the 26 injured horses and said criminal gangs were now being drawn towards football violence. Margaret Gilmore, BBC News, Millwall.
What happened here at Millwall was almost off the scale in terms of even police expectations, but certainly there is still trouble in other grounds. Only on Wednesday night, the day before, in Cardiff, police were having to deal with up to 600 Cardiff fans, trying to keep them apart from Stoke City fans after their club had seen their promotion hopes disappear for this season. And in fact, Cardiff City have 106 fans who are under banning orders. Stoke City, some 97, far more than here at Millwall. So clearly it's not just an isolated one club case, one club problem, but nor, I would say, Fiona, is it nationwide.
And David, Millwall were on the verge of going to the Premiership last night. Are the club and the authorities really serious about reining these people in?
Well, I think they're very worried about it, and in terms of reining in, what they can do with the club is if there's trouble in the ground, the FA can say, right, we're going to deduct you points or we're going to fine you. But the thing that the police are finding is that more and more these violent incidents are taking place further away from the ground. That makes it much harder, in particular, for the footballing authorities to assert any control over the clubs.
OK, David, thanks.
Under a hail of bricks and stones, mounted police charge a crowd of hooligans, filmed by a colleague. From the air, footage from another police cameraman reveals the sheer scale of the violence. Up to 600 football fans scatter as officers push forward. Scotland Yard says this was a pre-planned assault. The trouble after Millwall's Division 1 playoff left 47 officers injured. Their superiors may now sue the club for compensation.
We will be calling Millwall a
defeat. But the Birmingham fans were still locked in the ground, so the police lines became the acceptable target.
Scotland Yard is outraged by what is...
Like that. I was all singing that song, no one likes us because we're Millwall and all that.
Much of the ammunition for last night's riot came from this children's playground. Bricks ripped from the wall, paving stones ripped out of the ground. And then there were these, homemade firecrackers thrown at the police. This perhaps is evidence of some sort of planning.
In fact, police are convinced it was orchestrated. Everyone entering the ground for the match was searched. So the flares and the homemade firecrackers, they believe, were stockpiled in vehicles outside the ground. But the club disputes just how far it should be held responsible.
I don't believe that what happened out there is a Millwall Football Club problem. I don't believe that it's a football problem. I do believe that it's a problem that afflicts us as a society at the moment.
No one doubts this First Division club has made an enormous effort to rid itself of its unenviable reputation. This season alone, some 50 or so fans have been prosecuted and subsequently banned for violent behaviour. But the problem is, there appears to be a bottomless pit of hooligans attracted to Millwall FC. Simon Israel. Now here's Sue Turton with details of some more of today's